Okay. I'm very grateful to our colleagues from Armenia and to UNCTAD for the opportunity to spend a few moments to discuss the significance of the 10th anniversary of Armenia's competition policy system and some of the recommendations of the UNCTAD peer review. Why do we celebrate anniversaries? I don't think it is simply to honor longevity for its own sake. There are two good reasons to hold this conference and to recognize what Armenia has done with its competition policy system. The first reason is to recognize and underscore the accomplishments of those who have assisted in building what has become an important and promising element of Armenia's framework of economic regulation, and an important bridge to the development of an effective market system. The second reason is to look back as a way of seeing the path ahead, to evaluate experience in the first decade as a way of knowing what challenges should be confronted in setting Armenia on the path to a still more effective system in the second decade of its competition policy system. I want to focus for a few moments on the first of those two reasons to celebrate Armenia's 10th anniversary of its competition system. I think it's important to account for the impressive accomplishments that have taken place so far, and to put those in context. In the first decade, amid difficult conditions, the Armenian Competition Authority has focused attention on serious matters of concern to the citizens of Armenia. It has recruited a capable staff to carry out its work, and it has built valuable ties to other government and non-government organizations. For example, the work in advocacy that it does with Armenia's procurement authorities to build a procurement system that will be impervious to bid rigging by those who provide tenders on Armenia's public procurement projects. And if we put Armenia's experience in the larger context of international experience, going back to the late 19th century, with the first national competition policy experiments in Canada and the United States, and we compare Armenia to the many other nations that have taken the step of adopting a competition policy system, I think we find that Armenia is off to a promising start. What you see in looking at this larger body of international experience is that building a competition policy system, indeed building any new system of law, is a difficult endeavor. And if we compare Armenia's first decade to those of its counterparts around the world, I think Armenia has a lot to be proud of. A second thing to emphasize in this experience deals with looking ahead. The second reason we celebrate anniversaries. What can be done to make Armenia's system more effective in the future? A first thing to recognize here is the significance of the peer review itself. Armenia has shown great courage, and its competition policy officials have shown true fortitude in their willingness to expose themselves to a probing examination of their work. I don't think any of us particularly enjoy having outsiders come in and tell us what we could do better. None of us has a great enthusiasm for criticism. We'd rather have people tell us what a great job we've done. And many of the older competition agencies tend to regard peer reviews as a threat to be mitigated rather than as an opportunity to grow. And Armenia has set an excellent example by embracing this opportunity as a way to strengthen its system over time and to stare directly into the mirror, to face all of its strengths and weaknesses, and to find the better way ahead. It is the second decade of experience that, in the span of the global development of competition systems, that tends to be crucial. The UNCTAD peer review, which David Lewis and I had the great privilege of participating in, points to a number of concrete measures that Armenia can take to build a still more effective system in the years ahead. let me emphasize several specific recommendations. The first is to improve the investigation tools that Armenia's competition authority can use in order to develop specific cases and to increase its knowledge of economic phenomena of great concern to Armenia's consumers. The authority, for example, to conduct dawn raids is absolutely crucial to Armenia's ability to build, for example, an effective anti-cartel program. Not only will better investigation tools improve the quality of cases, it will improve Armenia's ability to understand better the causes of apparent obstacles to competition in the economy. A second recommendation in the UNCTAD report involves giving specific authority by legislative statute to permit the Armenian Competition Authority to implement a leniency program. International experience since the early 1990s underscores with absolute clarity the value of a leniency program in encouraging cartel participants to step forward, reveal the fact of their illegal behavior in return for mitigation of punishments to be administered. This has become standard equipment in competition systems worldwide, and Armenia would be wise, David and I believe, to take the step of joining the ranks of those who've established leniency programs. A third step that the peer review recommends is for the Armenian Competition Authority to enhance its existing relationships with other government and non-government bodies, and indeed to deepen its work with what Alan Fels has called co-producers, other institutions, public and non-public, that can enhance the effectiveness of the competition agency by magnifying the power of its work. To work with other government bodies, such as the Public Utility Regulator, to increase the cooperation with the central bank and the public procurement authorities. To work with universities that supply the human talent and research that make a competition system effective, and indeed to work with non-government organizations such as consumer groups, which can serve both as a source of knowledge about what's working and not working in the economy, and a crucial link by which knowledge about the competition authority's affairs can be known to the broader society. And a last recommendation that I would mention in the UNCTAD peer review is the need for greater resources. To compare Armenia to the experience of other relatively new authorities, two things stand out. One is that Armenia has made great strides with an extremely austere allocation of resources, but the second is that it lags behind so many of its other counterparts around the world, other agencies of roughly similar size and experience. And to both David and I, it is unmistakable that a greater commitment of national effort to the enhancement of the capability, the physical resources of the Armenian Authority will yield superior results in the implementation of a competition policy system. We would suggest that the Competition Authority, with respect to compensation and other features of resources, be put on a footing roughly equivalent to that of the Public Utility Regulator and the central bank. Competition policy is worth it. It can be a great investment for Armenia, and to apply the additional resources we think will yield to society an excellent rate of return. Let me emphasize finally the role that others have to play in this process. This will require participation by donors. This is a moment for donors to make a fuller commitment to the effectiveness of this program, and to do it in the spirit that has animated GTZ in formulating what we regard as a very wise approach to providing support and technical assistance. And that's to be in for the long run. All of us have seen, in looking at many countries' experience over the past 20 to 30 years, that it is not the one-off program that works. It's the sustained effort, the continuing engagement, the process of testing new techniques, seeing how the techniques have worked, identifying additional needs and responding to them that makes the difference. That's the spirit of the GTZ program, and we would hope that donors would see in their own work the wisdom of this long-term continuing engagement, be it for training or satisfying material needs such as the enhancement of the competition authority's information technology infrastructure. A final thought about what this means to the larger community of competition systems. In many ways, the peer review report in the examination of Armenia's experience is not simply about Armenia. It is the larger community that benefits from this process. UNCTAD's very thoughtful and I think inspired commitment to do peer reviews has made accessible to the larger community of agencies a pool of knowledge that otherwise would reside entirely within a single jurisdiction. And I think all of us have come to see that if we rely entirely on individual initiative within our own jurisdictions, that is unlikely to be sufficient to meet the challenges that we face. It is the collective effort, the collaboration across agencies, the pooling of knowledge that will enable all of us to go down the learning curve to improve our effectiveness in applying competition policy in our individual jurisdictions. And by its willingness to expose its work to careful scrutiny by outsiders, to share the results with the larger community, Armenia has not only made itself better off, it has improved our collective condition and enabled all of us to take a step to doing the job that we seek to complete effectively for all of our consumers, and to do it in an exceptional way. So why celebrate anniversaries? Indeed, to recognize the great accomplishments that have taken place, but also to see the way ahead for the great days to come. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you through this long-distance means and to celebrate this occasion.